think it was Cardinal Tobin who came out recently and said that a Catholic in good conscience can vote for Biden. What do you think about that?
With great deference to Cardinal Tobin, I don't see that in the tradition of the Catholic Church. I don't see that in the obvious support for killing 1 million babies a year that Joe Biden has articulated. I don't see that in Joe Biden's having already sued the Little Sisters of the Poor because they refused to pay for abortion drugs and promising to do so again. I don't see that in the Democratic establishment's promise to shut down churches and yet to reopen riot venues for BLM anarchists and socialists. Seems pretty clear to me. A Catholic cannot, in good conscience, vote for a pro-abortion politician in an election such as ours when the stakes are so clear. It's not possible. There have been some dubious theories suggested that if a candidate supports, say, capital punishment, on which topic, by the way, there can be legitimate disagreement among Catholics per Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI and per Thomas Aquinas and per St. Paul and per many other, and per Blessed Pius IX, who not only supported capital punishment, but actually carried out many capital punishments in the Papal States. So I think that attempt, the so-called seamless garment theory, is a way to muddy the waters on this issue. The issue has never been more clear. And I fear this kind of advice coming from people such as Cardinal Tobin, because wittingly or unwittingly, I fear that it puts people's souls in great jeopardy.
Do you think we've just kind of grown deaf to the horror of abortion? It's like, yeah, I get it, it's bad, but there's other issues. It's like we've been talking about it for so long, we fail to realize that this is a real thing that's happening, that babies are having scissors jammed in the back of their head, their brains are being sucked outside of their skulls, they're being discarded like waste, and yet we seem to be ashamed to say that, yeah, I'm a one-party voter. Abso-bloody-lutely. Like if Trump came out tomorrow, let's not use an individual, but maybe somewhere in the future someone comes out and they were against interracial marriages, let's say. I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, that's a really good reason not to vote for that person. Right. And maybe it is. I think it is. But abortion is even worse than that, and yet we're ashamed to say we are one-issue voters. But what do you say to those who say, well, really, Trump hasn't done a great deal for the pro-life movement? I know he showed up to the March for Life. I know he's given lip service to it, but he could have done a heck of a lot more than he has done. He's not doing it, and he won't do it, so abortions are going to continue to happen no matter who we vote for. So to say that, it's a bit of a false dilemma, someone might say, to say that Biden is sort of pro-choice and Trump is 100% pro-life.
No, I don't think so at all. I think President Trump is by far the most pro-life president we've ever had. I think your point is exactly right. And the dulling of our senses to abortion, by the way, is not accidental. It hasn't come up from the grassroots either. This was an intentional movement, in particular by left-wing Catholics, to muddy the waters here and tell you that if you don't vote to raise taxes on the rich, that's just as bad as not voting, or voting rather for a pro-abortion politician. The tax issue is nothing. It is nothing at all compared to the question of abortion, the slaughter of 1 million babies per year. President Trump did defund Planned Parenthood, not by the totality of their funding, but he defunded them by about $60 million. That was very important. He showed up to the March for Life, first president to do that. I actually saw him do it there, and it was wonderful and wonderfully inspiring.
Agreed.
I was very proud of that. He has appointed well over 200 judges to the bench, and he, as of now, is slated to have 3 conservative judges on the court. If he wins re-election, you could be looking at least 1, very possibly 2 more judges. You're talking about a fundamental reordering of the court. Roe versus Wade cannot be overturned overnight. We've been trying that for a long time, but it was entrenched. It has led to the absolutely vicious Supreme Court confirmation process we've seen since 1987 in Judge Bork. You saw Planned Parenthood v. Casey come up in the early 1990s. You thought that was the opportunity to overturn Roe. And then Justice Kennedy, who then stepped in after Bork got borked, Justice Kennedy came in and reaffirmed not merely the invisible constitutional right to abortion, which I guess was written in invisible ink beneath the penumbras and above the emanations, but he affirmed the individual right to redefine reality, to define one's own concept of existence and the meaning of life. That is the most radical Supreme Court decision probably in the history of our country. And so that is not going to be overturned overnight, and it's not going to hinge on one vote. We need a solidly conservative court. Trump has been crystal clear about this. And I have to tell you, judges always disappoint people, but the extraordinarily Catholic mother of 7, law professor, former clerk for Scalia, and appellate judge Amy Barrett, if I were a gambling man and I had to put money on her views of the preposterous decision in Roe versus Wade, I think she's on the right side of it.
Thank you for watching this clip. You can click here to watch the full episode. And I want to say a big thanks to our sponsors and to our amazing patrons for making all of this possible. Please do us a favor before you go. Click that subscribe button and then the bell. And that way YouTube will be forced to let you know every time we put out a new episode.